What I
Folks, welcome back to Beer and Business. Today is Thursday, September 12th. This is Jake.
This is John.
And this is Darren.
And today the three amigos on their third take are here in the studio with Khrys Vaughan. And she's going to be talking to us about how she went from homeless to successful entrepreneur and author. I'm really excited to talk to her about how she's built a business and become a successful author by learning how to color outside the lines. And Mr. Winnie, that should be really exciting to you.
It is.
But before we get down to business, boys, what must we do?
Drink tea.
Beer.
Oh, we've got a little dissension in the room. We're actually,
How about let's do both?
we're going to do both. We're going to start with some tea because Khrys has actually brought in some very fancy teas, and I'm drinking a Puer Bordeaux, and you're drinking something fancy with your
Same
pinky
thing. I'm definitely sticking out my pinky. Well,
This is not Lipton. This is really good stuff.
No, I don't do Lipton. No offense, Lipton. I don't do Lipton.
I mean,
I
this-
bought an assortment of both Shu and Sheng Puer teas.
I haven't even heard these words before.
Yeah. Sounds like a medical condition.
No, trust me, it's not.
It's really good.
Not
I mean,
at all.
honestly, I could totally dig drinking this on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's actually the one you're drinking today actually is red tea because of the actual red Bordeaux that's in it. So
Yeah.
It's not a shot,
Really?
Jake. You don't need to
So I'm drinking
What? It's
wine.
delicious.
shotgun that thing.
You got one that's...
I don't know. Isn't that how Mr. Miyagi drank it, or
Where'd you
am
show
I
us?
doing this wrong?
It's a,
Yeah,
what,
I don't
a 22-year-old...
yeah, so the
Orange?
other one I bought in is called Gampu, and it's a 22-year-old green mandarin orange pill, and it's stuffed with pu'er. So the older the skin,
Okay.
the pill,
Yeah.
the higher grade of the tea. And so you crumble it up and have a few pieces of the peel as well as the tea that's inside it. And yeah.
I didn't even know you drank tea this way. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are
Insane.
tea connoisseurs just like there are wine connoisseurs and,
And
in your
craft
case,
beer
craft
connoisseurs.
beer.
Hey.
Yes.
And speaking of craft beer, we're drinking the official beer of the Beer and Business Podcast,
Jailhouse Brewing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're drinking Penance, which is a Belgian amber ale. And as I understand it, Khrys, you don't drink beer, but you like the smell. Take a little sniff of this.
Yeah, okay, let me.
I mean, this is a nice beer. It's a nice
Oh, yeah.
dark beer.
And so I actually took a picture of John's. He had a full head on his. That made a good picture. But no, I
Finally,
enjoy
somebody
touring
poured
the tap
heavier than me.
rooms.
But I didn't spill it though.
I used to drink beer, but they took the one that I like off the shelf. I only like Zima. So,
I'm sorry, Khrys, but that's not beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's like
what
Sprite with alcohol in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what everybody told me, but that's the only one I liked. So
Malt? Isn't it? Just a malt?
Yeah, it's a malt liquor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a beautiful beer. It's delicious. So smooth, man. I really like Belgians. Like every time I drink a Belgian, I think, why don't I drink more Belgians? Don't you have that feeling?
No.
And every time you drink a Belgian, you say,
I should drink more Belgians.
there you go.
That's exactly
I'll
right. But
definitely drink-
Mr. Winnie doesn't have that thought, so whatever.
No, every time I drink a jailhouse,
You
beer,
think you should have more Jailhouse.
I need to have more jailhouse.
Very, very well done there, sir. So, Khrys,
yes,
I'm really, really interested to hear this story. You were homeless.
yeah, for about 7 months,
I mean, it's just one
and
of
I
those
was
things.
pregnant.
Oh,
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't
tell us
expect
how
that.
this started.
Oh gosh. So long story short, my husband and I, we left St. Louis, which is my hometown, and we moved to the East Coast with everything in our favor. He was going to be a senior loan officer with this major company, and I took a outside sales position with the .com. And so each one of us in our own right, we were on schedule, on track to earn six figures. Within, I'll say, 3 to 4 months of us moving, his job got eliminated due to a corporate restructuring. A month after that, the .com I was working with went belly up.
Huh.
And then I found out I was pregnant with baby number 3. So we did what we could to stay afloat. But we quickly lost both the place that we were staying, we lost our vehicle, and found ourselves at the mercy of the church. Well-meaning people, but
You know, if I could ask, so I know a lot of people listening have been through tough times. You know, maybe it's a single income earner in the home loses their job, or maybe both people lose their jobs. A lot of people have been through that. But at what point did you realize you guys were in trouble?
Oh, we realized we were in trouble quite well. I'll say the thing that triggered it was when the .com I was working with, their executives left, and the paycheck that we were dependent on to float us for another couple of months, it didn't come. They just literally walked and left all their staff, all their employees hanging, and that's when the bottom fell out.
Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah.
happens.
That
That's
was
rough.
Yeah.
So you lost your house. You
Yeah,
lost
I mean,
your
we
car.
couldn't afford to pay for it anymore. And we tried to work out plans, but business is a business. You have people staying in your apartment complex and,
Sure.
they can't pay. Well, there's somebody else that can. So I don't have a problem with that. But what kind of threw us for a loop, so we're a Christian family, heavy in faith. My husband came into it after meeting me and whatnot, but I've always gone through church all my life. And the funny thing is, I remember we were talking before we left St. Louis, and it's like, okay, this is good. We're going to church every Sunday and whatnot, but there has to be more than this. Well, we kind of got the baptism by fire, because even though we were doing the right thing, we actually got too poor for the church, which I didn't think that was possible. We learned real quick to do what God was leading us to do rather than man. With the new baby, they wanted my husband to go ahead and take a job daily scooping poop for like $50 a day. Well, that's respiratory. The baby is young. How
Sure.
are you going to come and then you're putting us up in a hotel? It's one room. The ventilation isn't like what you have at a home. And, the child is going to breathe all this in, plus our two younger kids. So they were mad at him for not accepting that job. We found out that...
Let me slow you down. I want to ask something, because you seem very intelligent, and you are, and we'll get to that.
You never said that about me.
You are, Darren. You're very intelligent,
Someday
Darren.
he'll get to that, John. But not today.
I believe in you, Darren.
And I've never said that about Mr. Winnie or Darren. So, but you guys were both in six-figure jobs.
Yeah.
And successful, and then the bottom fell out.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, as proud, smart people, you guys had the world by the throat 1 minute.
And then
the
they
next
had us
minute-
by the throat the next minute.
The next minute,
Yeah.
you're homeless.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that feel like?
Oh, gosh. We were like, what the heck is going on? We were like, what did we do wrong? And of course, that was quickly eliminated because it wasn't due to any of our faults that we lost our jobs. Okay. So we knew that we kept trying to figure out plans to, get us back. Well, maybe if we could get a part-time job, but you don't get hired on the spot. And so eventually what happened was we took all our belongings, we put them in a storage room, and we just paid it for 6 months because we didn't know when we were going to be able to get back to it. And due to the kindness of both strangers and some church members, we would stay different places. Most of them didn't have heat, or maybe electricity was only during certain times of the day, running water was certain times of the day. But my husband would work. Me and the kids slept in the attic at one of the places that was, freezing cold, but we were inside. So, wasn't the best situation, but thankful for that. But whenever we got to a place that did have electricity, what we would do would take our computer out of the storage facility, hook it up. We took the phone cord, put it in the back, and this was a desktop computer. This was back when you had 4 gigs drive that you were doing something, because nobody needed 4 gigs of space on a computer. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
This was when pictures did not move, and when the only music that you heard on a computer was the MIDI files. But anyway, so
The good old days.
yeah, imagine Michael Jackson with MIDI. That did not sound good. But so what I would do was I was like, I know that, because of what you did say, because we are smart, because we had taught ourselves various things rather than not only in addition to going to school, I was like, there has to be some kind of way that we can earn a living. There has to be. And I kept at it. I ran across this one healthcare company and they paid 100% commission, but I worked my butt off. And I found a coupon that would gives us half off so that instead of paying 1 week at a hotel whenever we had the money, it would cover 2 weeks. And it was then that I found out that actually technology, you having access to a computer was actually your best friend. And that's how I found my way into becoming an entrepreneur, was through necessity, and the power of technology. So I used it to help my family, and it kept us afloat for a while.
I love this because, so many people that we've talked to and, people that I'll just meet at business networking or friends, people hit setbacks and it's like, it's the end of the world. But
you don't have that option when you're homeless, especially if you have kids. Individuals, they may have the ability to float a little bit longer.
But you found yourself homeless.
Yeah, with two kids, one on the way.
One on the way.
Yeah.
Like,
and with the world against us, because what most people don't realize is that the homeless shelters, they're only set up for women and kids. Mm-hmm. Most of them are not set up for families. And the well-meaning people that wanted to help us, they wanted both me and the kids and my husband to go to separate shelters. Well, there aren't many shelters for men. Right. So they were perfectly okay with me and the kids being in a shelter, but my husband running the streets. And it was like, under no way, no circumstance, I don't care what we face, we're going to face this together. And, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not against church. I'm just saying, people are people, okay? When we stopped listening to people, when we said we were keeping our family together, they kicked us out the church.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yep. They kicked us out the church.
Man, well, we won't name the church.
No, we're not. And
you guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
We're not.
Wherever
That
they were.
was good, but that's how we relied, and we kept our priorities straight, which to this day is still God first, family second, all else third.
That's great. So this time of need, this desperation.
That's a nice way of putting it.
I'm selling it short, I know.
Yeah,
that's okay though. That's okay.
That led you to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Okay, so when I was in school, I went to all Catholic schools, all girls Catholic high school and whatnot. And so business classes came naturally to me. I took all the business classes I possibly could when I was in high school. And afterwards, I worked at various temporary agencies, so I got a lot of experience. I always reported to the senior executives and whatnot, and some of them were kind enough to take me into boardrooms and show me how things really work. And that's where I learned there was a difference between being white collar and corporate. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so these lessons came back to me, and I had always helped people with their businesses. And when I was in the situation where I was earning 100% commission, which, they didn't pay a lot, but they paid enough for what we needed at that time. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was like, well, if I can do this, then I can share it with someone else. And so I mixed technology and how it helps you collapse time frames and bridge certain gaps. I mixed that with consulting at the time. And after thank God that period was over. And we actually went into our own house, which was just, 2-bedroom townhouse, but we were so thankful for that. And then I said, okay, this got our family here, but maybe I can help someone else's family. And so I started consulting full time. And that too changed over the years because there was more that was into it, but it led me to where I am today. I love a microcredit, love a social enterprise, which is businesses that have a social mission attached to it. Mm-hmm. And like where I am. I like what I'm doing now, what I'm able to. But my introduction to entrepreneurship was out of need. And so I keep those lessons with me.
That's amazing. I mean, and I think there's a lesson packed in here that, people should really take note of. Here you were at rock bottom, on your heels, you didn't have a house, trying to figure out how to get out of it. And you still had the confidence to know that you could help other people, that you could consult, and you had value.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll run into people that are like, I'm trying to break into, a consulting or a service role. And they're like, I don't know if I can charge for it, or I don't know if I'm good enough. It's like, you just
better charge for it, because believe you me, they're going to want somebody to pay for their services, and that's one of the things that I don't like. So, I mean, that the experience being homeless, like I was already a straight shooter and, one of the people that tell it like it is, regardless if you want to hear it or not. But the experience being homeless set the standard that when you consult with me, when you work with me, I do high responsibility, high accountability. You can't tell me that, I can't. It's like, okay, or is it you can't or you're choosing? And so we get clear, the clients that I work with, we get clear very quick on what you truly can't do, which is not what most people think, and what you choose to do.
I can't dunk a basketball.
So
Okay? I mean, that's...
Probably can't palm one either.
Because people confuse the two, and they're not comfortable saying, well, I choose not to make money today. You tell me you can't get up, you canceled an appointment. Oh, I was up late last night. I'm like, okay, so you chose to party over earning money. And they're, oh, no, that's not what happened. It's just, I'm like, yes, that is what happened.
Priorities.
Yeah, exactly. It's priorities. It's like, are you going to be true to what you want? So, I learned how to choose my clients, because when I was coming up out of being homeless, of course, my focus was like providing for family still. And Brian, he did get a job, clean environment and whatnot. And it was paying, I think, $7.25 at the hour. And because we didn't have a car, he had to take the bus to work. So he was busing to work an hour and a half going, an hour and a half at night. And so my focus is like, oh my gosh, we need a car, because if they want him to work overtime, well, the buses stopped running at 11 o'clock where we were living. His only option was going to be to walk home. He wasn't going to take a cab because we needed that money. Okay. And so I took clients. If you wanted to work with me, hey, I want to work with you too. But what I started noticing was that, you do have customers from hell. And that your gifts and your talents, they are a gift to you, and they should be a gift to others. If you can't treat the time I'm spending with you like a gift, then I'm not the right person for you to work with. I learned that everybody wants to be your partner. Everybody wants to do a collaboration, but can they maintain the same standards of quality that you do? And so I got burned out after a couple of years. And, Brian, to his credit, it's by the grace of God that because we kept our family, I believe it's because we kept our family together, and that we face these issues head on, and we're not trying to hide or deny them. Brian's income doubled every single year for the next 5 years, wow. And so that gave me the breathing room to change how I was working in business. But I got burned out, trying to service everybody. And so I fired the so-called partners that weren't maintaining the same standards of quality. And I fired the clients and I walked away. And wow. And then it became like, okay, so who am I now?
So then what happened? What'd you do?
After the mandatory overtime, the 80-hour work week, because I eventually, went back to work. And then I found I was pregnant with baby number 4. And and my husband was like, okay, I'm going to start to travel, because we worked with a telecom company. So he was traveling.
Was that the method of birth control you guys chose?
No, but
Get out of the house.
Get out of town.
So
please.
no, here's the thing. Okay. I was on birth control with every single one of my children, taking it faithfully, every single one.
Wow.
Okay.
So God was like, Ha ha, look what I can do.
Yeah. See, he has a sense of humor because our children are from 16 to 30.
Yeah.
I've met two of your boys.
Yeah.
And
see,
they
the
are
older
both,
two. Thank you.
Both very polite, both respectful.
Thank you.
Really nice. Good looking dudes too. I mean,
I think so.
You got some. At least you got some good kids there.
They're very smart too. Super
And
smart, and they help in the
freedom
business.
and leeway and to do that. But they're always helpful. They're always helping you when I see them. So.
Yeah, I mean, because we included them in so the older two, they were with us when all this was going on. The younger two that are 16 and 18, they know nothing about being homeless, nothing about the struggle, but we've always taught them to kind of set their life. And because we homeschooled all four of our children, they are very accustomed to setting their agenda, to setting their routine, and to delving into what interests them rather than like what most parents, again, this is well-meaning, they ask your child a question, what do you want to be? Well, that's a 30-year sentence. What we ask our kids is like, okay, what do you want to do next? And so, yeah.
That's cool.
Well, a couple of things. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you and kind of move this along, but I really want to pause here and illustrate a couple of points. First of all, your husband.
Yeah.
And I think this is really, really critical. This man was a loan officer for a big company, 6-figure job, had the nice place. You guys moved out to the East Coast, car, and then bang, within a few months, he's homeless and working for $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
Not a victim. Remember our last interview, we talked to Dennis Lankus.
Yeah.
And he talked about never being the victim. And that's really critical.
Exactly.
He kept his nose down. He worked. I know he didn't like it. It was hell. But he kept his nose down and worked his ass off and got back into a great job and was able to provide. And I think that's awesome. And you as well, just figuring out a path forward. I mean, this is a great story. You can be down but never out as long as you're willing to work and as long as you keep your faith and just keep moving every day, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think if you allow yourself to make a choice between if you're going to give up or not, then you may be tempted to do that. For us, giving up has not ever been in our vocabulary. It's like we're going to go through. We're going to push ahead. Something's going to move. But we don't giving up. That's just not who it was. So really, we were in a position that we didn't have a choice. How do you have two kids and say, oh, I have a choice to give up? There were times that we didn't eat, but we made sure they did. And, thankfully, and this is, of course, no offense. I hate that because we live in such a BS political correct society. But anyway,
amen.
Yes. But anyway, that's a whole nother different conversation. And so we were vegetarian. So we got to experience this homelessness aspect and some of the realities of it in a way that certain people do not. Because we were vegetarians, then what we ate was less expensive. We weren't trying to go spend, the bulk of our budget on meats and whatnot. And because we didn't eat meat, that meant that helped guard our health, when we were trying to feed the children.
When I started my first business, I was vegetarian for about 7 months. I think I ate ramen noodles and potatoes, and that was it.
Burritos every day.
Well, I don't know if I was technically a vegetarian because some of them had beef broth, right? So they kind of had meat flavoring.
Yeah.
It wasn't my choice.
That's hilarious.
That. So you were working, you just said you were working 80 hours. You were getting burned out. You decided, now this is, as we had somebody else say, you gave yourself permission to pivot at this point.
Well, I mean.
Right? Is that the term?
Okay, so.
Or did you just
permission
say,
to pivot?
the heck with this, I'm done with this, and I'm going.
Well, that's one way to look at it, but there are two things. You either get yanked, pulled the heck up off your path, or either something happens, you hit that proverbial brick wall, and it says, I'm not moving now, what you're going to do.
Right.
And with my husband, who was traveling at the time, and me working 80-hour work weeks, and because of the position that I was in, what the last straw for that was when I had seniority. Okay, in not only in the industry but with the company. I had seniority. My shift was supposed to be 7 to 3. I was often working 7 to 7, 7 to 10. Okay. We have 3 kids at home. I'm pregnant with baby number 4. Okay. And so I took a call. You know, I'm doing my job. I took a call at 5 till 3 when I'm supposed to get off. Should have been a simple call. That call lasts 4 hours. As soon as I got off the call, my husband calls me from out of state saying, hey, we're snowed in. They canceled a flight. I won't be here until tomorrow morning. As soon as he tells me that, my supervisor is standing at my desk was like, I know it's time for you to get off, but you need to stay here. And I'm like, you know, heaven forbid I drop dead right now. You will move my body to the side, hire the next person on the road. You don't need me. My family needs me. So when my husband got back home the next day, he was like, something has to give because there is no such thing. Well, there is, but there are very few 24-hour daycares. Okay. Our older 2 were managing as well as they could. And thank God they're super smart and they were older. They were managing as well as they could, but they needed a parent in the home. And so we both agreed that he would be the breadwinner. We were homeschooling our kids. I went back to home to take care of my family. But shocker, the advice that I was giving everyone else, it also hit me not only the necessity of being home, but it also hit me that although over the years, even though I had found solutions that worked for everyone else, I had none that worked for me.
Yeah, we always give great advice. We just don't listen to it.
And I couldn't profit of it. But I mean, it makes sense now looking back because the advice.
I say, not as I do.
Right. Because the advice I was giving other people, that was for them. So why would I expect that same advice to work for me? And it took years to figure out what's my flow, what's my path, how am I constructed, and being multi-passionate really didn't help at the moment. But I see it as a gift now. And it's the thing that, you know, makes me unique and sets me apart and gives me my perspective. But it took time to do that. And what entrepreneurs, especially multi-passionate entrepreneurs, don't like are the 4 dirty words, is what I call them. They don't like the fact that things take time. They don't like the fact that you have to go through multiple iterations. They don't like process, and they don't like perseverance. And those are the things that are absolutely necessary, especially if you're multi-passionate, to find your way.
So how long were you at home? I'm assuming you probably quit immediately, then you stayed home with the kids. And then when did all of a sudden you have your next light bulb moment? Or was it kind of a dim bulb that got brighter as time went on? And you were like, this is it. This is what I'm doing next.
My bulb went out.
Oh.
It went out. I was frustrated. I crashed because I had my own expectations that I didn't live up to. Some of the things that I thought were different than what I said. For example, okay, motherhood is not only a blessed profession, it is highly important. You know, even if you're a single father, but I'm talking about women right now, okay? It is an honor to have kids, which is how we go forward. It is an honor to be able to take these kids because they're going to be our tomorrow, okay? But at the same token, you're built for more.
Yep.
And so when someone would tell me, it's like, hey, I'm, a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, more power to you. Good for you. And I honestly meant that. I just never wanted to be one. I had a problem looking at myself. It's like, okay, so I've helped all these people. I doubled their profits. They are still successful. Okay. They're still working on the same plan of action that I gave them. What the heck is wrong with me? Because no matter what I tried, the bottom was falling out. So I had to walk away from business. I had to literally take a couple of years. It was supposed to be 6 months, but it was a couple of years later. And then all of a sudden I had this vision for what would become my first book. It took me 4 years to write it. And it's only been the last 2 years that my approach is different. I'm in creative space now that I never thought I would be, but bringing back, this linear project management and consulting is still having an impact. And it's the combination that I'm able to see now that no way I was prepared to even think about all those years ago.
So how did the idea for your book come up?
Believe it or not, I was getting ready to go somewhere one morning, and I was putting on my makeup, brushing teeth, whatever, and whatnot. And literally, there was this vision, and I saw the whole thing, the story from beginning to end. It flashed just in front of my eyes, and I literally just stopped. And so I ran, got my notebook. I wrote down everything I possibly could remember, and I didn't do anything with it because it was vivid and it was powerful. And I saw it just like I'm looking at you guys here right now. It was that real, but, it didn't dawn on me. It's like, oh, okay. I went back to trying to do the things that were creatively acceptable, which was making businesses.
Interesting. So then this turned in, eventually you started working on the book, right?
Yeah. So that was in 2010. In 2013, I ran across an organization called NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. The goal is to write 50,000 words during the month of November. They do it every year all over the world. And excuse me. So, and this is from tea, y'all. It's not beer. I'm not cheating.
Subliminally, we're sending our beer burps over to Khrys right now.
Yeah, I know. Go figure. It's the Bordeaux and the Puer. But so because I would write little tidbits over the years as I thought about it, and I kept all my notes in a little notebook and whatnot. So I found out about this organization. I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I could do this because I never thought that I was creative as far as creative in the arts, okay? Mm-hmm. And so I did the NaNoWriMo Challenge, and I won, which is I wrote over 50,000 words. And 4 years later, that became a book, and it was published last year. It's only at Barnes & Noble, awesome. And it is called The Vision That I Saw, which was the Red Umbrella Society.
And it's a fiction book.
Yeah, it's...
So don't give it away, but give us a little teaser of what the story is about.
So in the nutshell version of it, it's about a secret organization of women that becomes torn between the way they swore to uphold, the people they protect, and an enemy within. And so these women, they've been established, they've operated behind the scenes of some of the most powerful governments and corporations in history. But they know history what it truly is. So it features strong female characters.
Some badass bitches.
Yeah, seriously. If you think it's a story where everybody is like Jane Bond, okay, but this is their norm.
So is Jane Bond just as... See the manizer like James Bond is the womanizer?
No, they don't.
Well, why would I read your book then?
You could get sexy from somewhere.
Jesus, Darren.
What the heck?
Sexy and powerful.
He's going to drag it down.
I know.
This is really cool. Is that why you have this little tea thing? That one's like the Red Umbrella Society.
Yeah, that's
so
why
cool.
This is my personal tea.
Could my girls read? Could my 16-year-old
Yes,
daughter
they can.
read it?
It's a clean novel.
Excellent.
It's strong women, the villains as well as what you would consider to be protagonists, and the two main characters, Lucille and Elizabeth. They're actually best friends, but Lucille winds up realizing that she's caught between either protecting the society, saving her friend, or protecting the society from her if she can't.
Ooh.
And so I'm working on book 2, which will be out in February.
That's awesome.
It'll be a series.
Excellent. Now you said it's at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I've always wanted my books in Barnes and Noble.
You didn't self-publish this?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
and
through Barnes and Noble Press.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
that's
Barnes and
awesome.
Noble Press. They have an option for self-published or indie authors, and so I said if I ever wrote a book, it would be there, and so that's where it is, an ebook and paperback.
That's awesome.
Thank you,
folks. Just to give you an idea how captivated Jake and Darren are by the story, it's they're not even halfway through their beers yet.
But they drank the tea though.
They drank the tea.
They drank the tea.
I drank the tea and my beer.
Well, give Darren a break. He's trying to stay out of the bathroom.
No.
I mean, it's away from the thermostat. I'm sorry, folks, away from the thermostat.
We're doing well.
He doesn't pee every episode, folks. He just checks the temperature. So something interesting happened in this journey with you, though. By writing this book, you really unlocked the creative side of your brain, and you started to realize that there's a connection between your ability to run a business and be successful and utilizing creativity.
Yeah.
And it's something that we don't think about because, the whole setup for this is that, we learn how to color outside the lines. The interesting thing for us as adults is as we get into our careers, we are taught to color inside the lines.
Mm-hmm.
We are taught not to be creative. We are taught about policy,
Right.
law. This is what you have to do, and that's that. And so the creativity in life is stripped away from us.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I'll take that a step further, which is we're not only told to box creativity, we're taught how to interpret it. We're taught how to think about it. We're taught it's at odds with us having quality of life. So it's one thing to be taught to color within the lines, but it's another thing to be taught that that's your only option. And so when creativity rears its head, our knee-jerk reaction is to try to put it in a box, the nearest box, as soon as possible, or to make it kowtow to, this rigid format, and we don't realize that it's actually an invitation to come out to play. And that if you take that journey, it could lead you in places you never thought that it would. And that's exactly what happened to me because, when I was little, like I said, I've always been multi-passionate. What I wanted to be when I was little, I wanted to be three things, not one. I wanted to be a nun, a Catholic nun. I wanted to be I wanted to be a truck driver.
Nuns don't have kids, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
See?
Just clear.
Yeah. I wanted to be a truck driver and I wanted to be an Olympic gymnast.
There's like
At the same time?
that could
Yes,
be a
at the
TV
same
show.
time.
That could
I know,
be a
go
TV
figure,
show
right? Go figure. And so
I mean, would you do your
The
like
Olympic
yeah, your
gymnast
Olympic
flying truck driving nun.
No, I'm just wondering if she would do her floor routine
that could
dressed
be
as a
movie.
nun. Like that'd be pretty interesting.
A shorter version of it, yeah.
Oh, that could
I mean,
be a book or a movie. That's awesome.
If
That's
you could have the
awesome,
TV show BJ and the Bear,
I
back
watched
when-
BJ. That was
Did you?
like my favorite
so
show
you
back
could
then.
definitely create a show
BJ
out
and the
of that.
Bear, Manimal, and Airwolf.
Oh yeah.
Airwolf.
Yeah, remember Airwolf, y'all?
Mad props
I
to
still
Airwolf.
see.
Yes.
See. Yes.
Oh my
yes.
God, dude! I'm gonna have to pull that up
Yeah,
on
Airwolf.
the interwebs tonight
yeah.
and watch an
Well,
old episode.
I know one of the other things, and I know I got a sidetrack here because you're kind
Oh
of
geez, Darren's taking us off track again.
well, I know.
The shocker.
Oh
Who
geez.
knows? Well, you say multi-passionate, and I'm looking at all. I mean, go watch the video. The spread that Khrys brought in there. She's like got 5-6 different teas. We all
Yes.
have different types of tea steepers.
Yes.
There's a man in his drawers.
Yep.
man in his
She's
drawers.
actually got a little tea thing.
It's kind of weird because you
There's
the tea in his
there's the
pants.
ball and chain.
and if you put the
I mean, he's
little
literally got tea in his crotch.
Right.
and if you put him in a cup,
That's it.
He's kind of
you can
sits there
see
like
the-
a hot
Do you
dog.
have a
the
manatee
brown liquid just
as
comes
well?
out of his pants.
Oh, that was good. That's good, Darren. That's
Yeah,
good.
that's-
No, there is one. I have one at home.
Oh wow. Okay.
We have a manatee.
Yeah, I
It's
got
like
it.
that guy
Okay.
there, so it's
Okay.
another one.
All right,
Let's
so
So we'll get,
now that we've gone way off the
Yeah, what
trail,
were we
let's come
talking
back.
about?
so you wrote your book.
Yeah.
You did that, and then did you? Then what? You're like, okay, I'm done with this book. Now what do I do?
Oh gosh, I learned I actually love writing. I learned that I actually was creative, but part of the reason why I was so good at as well as so willing to help people with their own ideas is because that was the only acceptable method that I could express my creativity. Being a gymnast, which I never took classes. I did take ballet. I took piano, classical piano for 2 years longer than what I wanted to. But, one things that the adults would always say is that if you wanted to do something creative in the arts, oh, that's nice, but make sure that you get a real job too.
What's that mean?
What that means is that you're not ever going to make a living doing what you love. And, thankfully, we live at a time that is not the case. And I don't believe it ever has, but I believe because people had been taught on how to think about that, they never even allowed themselves to consider it as a possibility.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm just happy I'm not responsible for my own mediocrity. I've been always taught to Stay inside the lines.
It's not my
Are
fault.
responsible for
Not
your
my fault.
own mediocrity.
I'm a
John's worse.
victim. I'm a victim.
No, you're not.
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Oh gosh, I love them. Oh wow.
So let me. I want to kind of come back to really connecting the dots for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and anybody that's looking to be successful in business. There is a real connection between your ability to problem solve, to perform at your highest level, if you're unlocking that creative side of your brain. I'm curious, we'll talk a little bit about some of the programs that
I don't
you've
think
done.
it's even unlocking that side of your brain. I think it's a matter of unlocking yourself.
So tell us what that means and tell us what some of the benefits are when you figure out how to do that.
Okay, so for me, it was the adversity. It was being homeless. It was being uprooted, like we were a little over a year ago when we moved here. It was not being able to stay at a job that I liked, but was, very much at odds at. It was circumstances beyond my control that, not that I wasn't willing to, but I had been taught that it wasn't acceptable.
Oh, you're
Okay.
unemployable
Yeah.
because you're an entrepreneur.
One of those.
And that was causing friction, and I didn't realize it at a time, but I would see things that could be done better. And so I'm thinking, the company says they want innovation from inside. They
Just
want
not that innovation.
entrepreneurial,
Right.
entrepreneurial employees and whatnot. And then you become one and you express the fact that you are, and then all of a sudden you become the employee from hell. It's like, we have tenure, but
Right.
we don't do things that way. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you're going, the opposite direction that you want to. But
When this boats are rocking, somebody's getting fired.
Hey, really?
thankfully I've never been, fired, but yeah, I just, it's like not good.
Oh,
for
it's a
me.
rite of passage. You
But-
should try it. It's awesome.
No, but now I don't have to worry about it though,
There you
because, I remove
go.
myself. But when you're in situations, you have to either say, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to keep doing the same thing and expect something different. And we know that's the definition of insanity. And so I became very willing to take all the lessons that I've learned, whether they were self-taught, circumstantial, or otherwise, and I adapt them to what I need them to be. And the more I did that, the more creative I came, not only in business, but as a person. And so I think that there are different things that we do at different phases of our life, but over time, if you allow it, you become more of who you were originally created to be. The expression of that you may not be comfortable with, but if that's what you are, after you peel back all the layers of shoulda, coulda, woulda, of, parental expectations, family and friends expectations, societal expectations, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, unless you're a part of, the moral underground, which there is a need for that. If you're not doing anything illegal and it's not harming anybody, then who you are is who you are. So you first have to be comfortable with that before you can go tell somebody else, let's see what your path is to finding yourself and how you can earn a living and put whatever your special package together so that you can go forward.
How do you help somebody? So as Jake asked before, how do you get that? How do you unlock somebody else's creativity? So they come to you and I come to you and I go, Khrys, I hear you're a consultant. I hear you're good at it. I think I've got something that I need help with because I'm stifling and I know I want to progress. So I sit down with you and then you say, okay, lay down on the couch and tell me what you're thinking and tell me about your child.
We start with tea.
We start with tea.
Believe it or not, tea
You know what?
does make
Darren, do you want me to
everything
tell you what you tell you?
Get out of here. That's
There
it.
is absolutely no hope for
You
you.
know-
Get out.
Just
Get out.
there's got to be a ripcord in life. Just yank it. Just yank it, buddy.
I know I like this tea though. Oh, brother. Oh, you had the poo-poo Bordeaux tea as well.
Puer Bordeaux.
Puer.
That's not poo poo. It's
It's
Puer.
actually, I know why we chose this one. It's got wine in it.
Exactly. Look, I'm no dummy. So it's interesting. I want to talk about something because I've actually seen this a lot in my career. You have adults, right? And we're very programmed not to be creative, and it really affects our ability to problem solve. I think is one of the biggest issues. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to do a lot of problem solving because they seem to come up every freaking day.
Right.
And what I found is, people that don't have creative outlets, they'll see a problem and they see it as black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It's either all or nothing, or it's this or that. But people that have these outlets, whether it's a hobby, they do art, whatever it is, if they're using creativity in their life, they seem to find more of these gray areas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really critical as an entrepreneur, isn't it?
Yeah. And, so I am one of those people. I believe that there is black and white. Gray is only a result of not doing what we know we should do. It's conflicted by what we want. But
I don't mean that in terms of moral standards.
No. I'm saying this is same in business too. Because how many times, have you run across entrepreneurs? They know they have the customer for hell. They know that the customer is being unreasonable with, that they don't value their time, but they're sucking away their time that other potential clients could use and truly value.
They're time ninjas.
It's not a gray area. You should get rid of that client from hell so that you can go and spend your time and less amount of time with those who really appreciate the value that you bring. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's what entrepreneurs may see as a gray area. But what I would say is that if you don't even consider the option, sometimes entrepreneurs, or people in general, they just need a fresh perspective. They know what they should do, but they haven't thought about it in the way that you do. Mm-hmm. Or they feel like they need permission because, going back to what you said, we've been taught to draw within the lines. We've been taught how to think about certain things. And we never, thought about it. We just said, oh, okay.
Some of us don't like that.
And so if for some people, they need somebody to say, go ahead, draw outside the lines. And, and they look like a little kid. It's like, what, you mean I can do that? Is that easy? I'm like, you have to, and it is a process, but at what point do you become old enough that you say, now I can be the architect of my own life?
Oh, I thought you were giving me permission to just not even match clothes.
Well,
if I could just wear what I want.
You don't do that now, Darren?
If that's
close,
that's what you want to do. And, sometimes people start with the simple things, and it could be not matching. It could be not matching socks, because maybe there's one small act of rebellion that sets them on their way. Like, okay, nobody noticed my socks aren't matching. The world didn't fall apart. Nobody called me out. Who knows? But the more restricted that you have been or that you have placed on yourself, the more significant small acts of rebellion and small steps become to when you see, like the lady who, one of the ladies that attended my Strong Women Right workshop, she was 73 years old. She's been writing since she was in her 20s. And I got to see this 73-year-old woman throw her first punch because it was a Better Fight Scenes workshop. Strong Women Write. We help women, or for women who write strong female characters, fight scenes worthy of them, and help them do more with their work than just a book, okay? And so this woman said, no, I'm going to sit down. I'm not going to participate. I'm just going to observe. Man, when we got up, everybody, she was the first one up. This woman was throwing punches and whatnot. And I'm like, look at this. She's 73. She's full of life. She's healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. And so after the workshop, she comes to me and she says, Khrys, thank you so much for doing these workshops. Because when I was in my 20s, I was writing stories like this. But I was told, ladies don't do this. Ladies don't behave this way. You need to stick with maybe romance novels, but, do this, that, and the other. So all her life, she's been told all these things that she couldn't do. Oof. Who's to say that we've missed out on 50 years of her work? She's 73. And now she's told me she was going to go back and write the stories that she wanted to when she was 23. Who knows where she would be by now? Who knows what her economic status would look like if she would have given herself permission, or if somebody would have told her it was okay to color. So it has different implications. It's not only about quality of life. It's about economics. It's about what we're passing on to the next generation.
Mhm.
It's about how we're living as an example. Or is it okay for us to be strong so that our children see that it's okay for, men and women to be strong together? It's so much more than what I can't do. We make choices based on what we think we can and can't do.
We do. So you put on these workshops for women writing, Strong Women Write, and you've also done some other workshops as well.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about how somebody that may not be a career writer, but somebody that's an entrepreneur could benefit from something like this.
Oh, gosh. And I hate the term empowerment. I think it's one of those seriously overused words like sustainability.
It's a very... It's a misused word. I will tell you honestly.
CSR and
you know the problem with the term empowerment? People say it and they don't mean it.
Exactly.
So then the world becomes numb to what the hell it actually means.
Exactly. And it becomes vague. It means absolutely nothing.
I'm going to empower you guys to make the right decision. Don't do that, you idiot.
Yeah. No. And you know what?
What I'm going to do is what
Not-
should
not
be
that
like,
way.
I'm going to teach you to think a little differently and allow you to move forward and expand
Yeah.
Right.
your life.
Because the only thing I think we can't empower people. What we can do is create a platform for them to empower themselves, an opportunity for them to do that or not. But ultimately, a person has to make a choice.
Yeah. But how does getting back to my question though? How does something like this, go into a workshop that helps you figure out how to write, how to be creative? How does that help a regular entrepreneur that's starting a tax business or, seriously, like something
Like
that
John.
may be completely unrelated.
Okay.
What? Yeah, I thought you were going to skeet shooting in your underwear. I think that's a great business that you could open
Only
up.
that would come out of Darren's mind.
Underwear safaris. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's it.
Oh,
Underwear
wow.
safaris. There you
I'm
are.
sure somebody is doing that though. Oh
What?
my gosh, that's
It's,
crazy. Okay, so
Drive
there-
by John's house, you'll see it.
there are two things. So with the workshops, well, first of all, I should start by saying that I am an author, but I also a consultant to multi-passionate women with huge vision, okay? Because I understand what it's like to be a multi-passionate and people's response to you and the restrictions that they want to place on you as a result of such. So if somebody, what it's been my experience speaking to the Strong Women Write workshops, it's been my experience that women attend because A, is something unique and they want to see what it's about, regardless if they're a writer or not, or because of they see the titles or the topics of a workshop, they're not getting that from other writing groups, okay? Like we did Getting into Character for 2019, which was the workshop we actually did here at Launch and Go Space. Thank you, Darren.
Welcome.
And what we were doing, we were exploring character development and writing via cosplay. So we had 2 cosplayers come in. And people had never mirrored. It's like, wait a minute. So these strange anime loving people have something to do with writing. Well, that's a perspective they didn't consider. So and that's one of the things that I have a knack of doing for bringing 2 or more topics together and combining them and structuring them in a way so it benefits both people in the industry, but also somebody who maybe has not considered that and they're in the middle. It's like, hey, so I can do this. It is okay to put my own spin on things. For someone who is in what I would say like interested in pursuing a more structured or traditional path, I do consultation because I have to understand what it is that you're trying to do in order for me to help you. And so I do that on just the consulting part of it with either a course that I put together called 90 Days to Launch, which is your beginning. And the first thing we do, we address mindset. So we don't start at how to make money 101. Anybody can do that. If you want that, please don't come to me because it's not going to be how you think. Okay. And so we address our mindset. I can't versus I choose what's in your hand, which here in America, we're so fortunate. We have so much more than what we know to do with it. We just totally ignore most of what we bring to the table. But if you're a consultant, which means you're a more established entrepreneur and you're trying to see what's next for you, we still begin with mindset because who you are will show up in your business. And what you haven't given yourself permission to do, you're not going to give your business permission to do. And how many people go through failure And I'm using that term lightly, but go to business failure after business failure. And it's like, but everywhere you go, there you are.
Well, it's interesting. We had a discussion with a guy named Lee Williams about a month and a half ago, I think was his podcast. And we talked about mindset. And I think what's interesting about that is, you've got two mindsets. You got a fixed mindset, which says, I know what I know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this mindset that, you want to explore, you want to improve. You've got this open mindset where, there's more for me out there and I'm going to figure out how to do it. The thing that I think is interesting about what you've done is you're also tapping into this other part of the mind, which is creativity. And I think that you have this, it manifests itself in a couple different ways. You have these people that have just shut it down, and then you've got to help them find themselves again, because you lose your identity when you shut off your creativity.
Yeah.
You've lost yourself, and you've got to re-find yourself. I think also you've got these people where they rediscover it, and then you're figuring out how to help them, get re-engaged with what they're passionate about. One other thing that I'm curious about, though, and I've seen this myself, you get these folks that, they get, really tapped into this creativity, and they're like a dog in a field. They just run and run, and they're just like, oh my God, there's just so much. Do you find also as part of what you've done, helping to harness and create focus in somebody that all of a sudden just becomes unleashed and has no idea what to do with it?
Yeah, and that's typical, very typical of multi-passionate people, because it's so easy, not only for entrepreneurs, but if you're a person who has very interests, it's so easy for us to see everything as an opportunity, or correlations between everything. And sometimes they just aren't there, or they just aren't there for you. And so what I do is something that I've learned from my own experience, that, everything doesn't need to be a business. Just because you see it doesn't mean that you need to do it. And B, that there are some interests that you have that are just there for you to enjoy. They make your life more beautiful, more enjoyable. They are there to solely satisfy you. You don't need to rope it and chain it and try to, contort it into a business idea and, get all out of sorts when it doesn't work. It wasn't designed to, so
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you shut that down with somebody without restricting their creativity, without making them feel like, oh, well, I shouldn't be exploring this, I shouldn't be, thinking this way? How do you do that?
Yeah. So I do the same things that I've done for myself. I listen to all their business ideas. And with multi-passionate individuals, one thing that we do, we tend to see everything in terms of various components, so multiple components. It's one idea, but it has multiple parts and it has multiple layers. Okay. And so what's in our working sessions, what we do is we write down all this, because I think it's very important for you to get out of your head onto paper so that you can see. Mm-hmm. And so I watch them, they go through it themselves, and it's like, oh, okay, this is way out there, because the snapshot is now on paper. Some things they quickly see that just don't make sense. What's easy for me to see is the things that they don't want to get rid of, but the things that they fit, like they're pulling at them, which tells me, okay, this is something that they're interested in, but there's a reason why it's an outlier. There's a reason why it's over here. It doesn't have to do with this. And then I help them with perspective, and by narrowing that down and help them with their focus, what we have left is like, it's either there are several things, but the words are different, but they all mean the same thing. And it's like, okay, so this is actually one thing, and by doing that, and sometimes it takes a couple of times, they're able to see, it's like, okay, so I really have 3 components, not 11. And then we can identify common chords, threads, whatever you want to call, so that even though the components appear different on the surface, mm-hmm. they know that they're all linked by a common thread. And so they could see it as one project rather than like chasing cats. Like, okay, I'm on this hamster wheel and, oh, squirrel. And then, this carrot and bird flew in and
You know,
So my Brussels
I help them make
sprout
sense out of
restaurant,
it.
if I opened up a restaurant that only served Brussels sprouts,
You better have a darn good
It's not a
recipe,
good idea.
like 20 different ways. And,
well, breakfast,
yeah.
lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. No.
you better have a
Oh,
good air
what?
filter
No.
is what you better have.
So if I wrote that down on a piece of paper, you'd be like, hell no, get it out of there.
Well, no, not right off the bat, not
You should
necessarily.
add
Because
asparagus to
look,
that.
there's-
Then you got to.
because who would have ever thought
Sour- I
Mad
I can't
Chad?
wait to go, Mr.
Right,
Winnie.
that's-
Yeah, because you know Mad Chad, right?
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought that Mad Chad? He's the guy that dances like a robot.
I'm not familiar with this gentleman.
You got to look
No,
him up.
I-
Mad
Mad
Chad.
Chad is incredible.
So
His movements are robotic, mechanical. But who would have thought he'd be able to make a living out of that? That's all he does. Not all, but I mean, that's what set him aboard. And then Tony Hawk, the kid was skateboarding.
well, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so
and-
if there's something there, then yeah, we need to delve
I
into
give
it.
Darren
I
a beer.
do
He's
need
freaking out.
something. Yes,
He's
I
freaking out.
need another jailhouse beer. I would.
Oh, you
may I just-
finally
may I please
finished
have
the
a
first one? Good job.
Slammer wheat.
Slammer wheat.
It's so good.
Jailhouse.
So when you're
Thank
sitting there
you.
talking about that, the person that came to my mind was Elon Musk.
Yeah,
Oh my.
You know, Elon Musk, if you ever listen to an interview with him, he's like a just smorgasbord of ideas. It's like
right.
they just roll off of him.
I
He's
don't think he's
out there.
ever colored one picture inside the lines.
No, he's
No.
completely nuts.
He doesn't even use the picture. He's
Pretty
just like,
much.
the hell with
Yeah,
the
he's
picture.
he's really, really fascinating. But the
Mhm.
thing is, that I guess what I'm taking away from this is you want this man coming up with all these crazy ideas, and he's probably got one every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But he's got, only a handful of businesses. He's got his
Right.
Tesla, which is successful. He's got SpaceX, which is actually
Solar
very
City.
successful.
Mhm.
And he's got
Solar.
which is kind of a byproduct in that Hyperloop thing. So I guess that's 4.
He's got a
he's got
separate-
Virgin now. Virgin
He's
is
got
part
a
of the
separate-
Hyperloop now.
Yeah. But
He's got
wow.
a separate Twitter handle that's named Bored Elon Musk.
yeah.
All it is
Yeah,
just
the boring
random-
company.
You know what, though?
Just
You and Elon Musk have
random
something in common.
ideas that he throws out.
He was almost homeless, too.
Yeah.
He was like
Yeah.
he was down at his last 100,000 or something, and his friend said, "Oh, you can come and stay in one of the rooms at my mansion,"
Right.
with his wife at the time. But he really was. It was the last.
It took everything.
the last rocket
Mhm.
that they were launching, and it was like all or nothing, and the whole SpaceX was either going to live or die, and it made it in
Yeah.
like a week and a half later. So
Yep.
But
you're
here's
on to your next $1 billion idea.
But let me get back to my
I
point,
claim
though.
Go
that.
to
I believe
Mars, you
that.
should conquer Venus.
Let me get back to my point, though. The thing about it is listening to you and talking about entrepreneurs and creative people the way that you did. I'm thinking about Elon Musk. There's somebody there. There's people around him that are helping him harness what makes sense. Because of all the stuff that comes out of his head, probably 1% of it lands, right? That becomes
right.
Well,
a
what-
business model or an idea inside his business that's going to work. And he fails a lot.
right.
You have to.
So
Yeah.
you've got to have this.
No risk, no reward.
So I think really the key is you got to really start to work to unlock this creativity to think and to really push boundaries and
Mhm.
and find new ways. But you also need somebody there telling you, you got one. Like, let's run with this.
Right.
Not
right.
shutting them down on the
Right.
stuff that doesn't make sense. But
Because you've been shut down all your life. Why would you pay
Right.
somebody to do that for you?
Yeah.
I have a quick. Did that happen to you growing up though? Were you shut down, or were you allowed to explore your creativity and kind of?
My kids are so fortunate because I was always, I had older parents. If my dad was alive now, come 2020, he would be 100.
Oh, wow.
My mom would be almost 20 years younger. So I had older parents. So there were just some things that you did not do. No nonsense. If it didn't serve a purpose, you
Mhm.
just didn't go there. Okay. And so I don't think it was shut down, but it was very practical.
Stifled.
And
Practical, Darren.
Right.
Practical. She said.
yeah, very practical.
That's not stuff.
But I don't think you would. Yeah, I didn't get to the point where I was allowed to express that because it wasn't acceptable.
So you
So
went to
with
an
my
all
kids
girls,
being homeschooled, then and Catholic. The
you went
schools,
to a Catholic girls' school.
Catholic, all Catholic
so
education,
You always
private
wore the
education.
same uniform.
Mhm.
Did you like wear different color laces or something on your shoes?
Not
just
until
'cause you're
I
a little
got
bit of rebellion?
no. So I'll tell you this. So I had uniforms, of course, all through school,
Right.
but got to express a little bit of individuality at the all-girls high school. And so what I would do once I heard, punk rock music, because I only listened to classical, the country that I hated that my mom played, and grits and cornbread, and the Stack Singers. So we listened to all type of music. But anyway, so when we were in high school,
Punk rock.
I listened to punk rock.
Heck yeah.
So if you can picture this,
Iggy and the Stooges.
wait a minute, picture this, because we were able to pick out what pattern or solid color uniforms we want to have. They were all, 3 pleats front, 3 pleats back, the little white collar and whatnot. Okay. So what I did one day,
Mr.
Really tall.
Mr. Winnie's getting excited.
The knee,
He gave me the look like, oh, that sounds hot.
the knee-high socks.
Sorry,
Catholic
Brian.
school uniforms
Sorry.
were
That's like a
the
old
beast.
Britney Spears video
Hey,
or something.
Yeah, but
Jeez, man.
our skirts were
Jeez.
longer. They had to be, knee length. But anyway, and so what I did one day, I came to
Not
school.
ass cheek length.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real,
So
right? I came to school with blue lipstick,
Uh-oh.
a blue streak in my hair, and these Japanese flag ankle boots with my all-girls school Catholic uniform.
Okay.
Man, the nuns let me have it.
Did they?
Oh
Give me
my
them knuckles.
gosh.
Knuckles.
Yeah, well, yeah, the paddle
Give me
and the little ruler and whatnot, and they were like, "That is not appropriate."
Chris, you're not allowed to
Yeah.
let your freak
You know,
flag fly today.
So, but yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
Adam Ant, Billy Idol. Oh
Heck
my
yeah.
gosh, I love those.
Gen X.
Heck yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
was into
hilarious.
that.
So again, I took us down a
Off the
sidetrack,
rails.
Actually, we
Yeah,
just
we-
went backwards. We just went back.
Totally
on the time.
derailed this whole thing.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren. We appreciate
Sorry.
that, buddy. So if any of you are confused, it's Darren's fault.
Thanks
That's the way I
very
like
much.
it.
I'm
So-
not coloring inside the lines.
So I want to know if we've got people out there that are, entrepreneurs or thinking about starting a business. What are some things that you'd tell them in terms of encouragement? Like, because a lot of people, they've got an idea, but then taking that idea and turning it into a business model takes a lot of creativity. It takes a lot of
Effort.
effort.
You're going to
guts.
work. You're going to work. If you're
What
scared
would
to work, don't do it. Go get a job.
Yes, exactly.
Try to get a job. I'm sorry. Try to get a job.
But what would you tell them in terms of that creativity that it takes to take said idea into a business model that's thriving? What advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do to unlock that creativity in their life?
The first thing I would tell them is to give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance to find out that you may actually be someone totally different than what you think you are or think you should be. And then give your idea a chance, but don't keep it in your mind. Write it down.
Mhm.
The Bible says write the vision so that other people can, run with it and whatnot. There is value, and there have been studies and whatnot about the difference between typing something on a computer or laptop and actually handwriting. When you handwrite something, it affects different areas of your brain. And as you write it, you may find that you're understanding what you're doing better. No matter how crazy it sounds, just write it. You can always go back and fine tune it and make sense, but give yourself a chance, give your ideas a chance. Take it as far as you can.
Mhm.
But if you need help,
Call
Look-
Chris.
yeah, call me if you're female, because I only work with women, but I do have other people that I can connect you with, if you're a male. We need each other at the end of the day, but I work with multi-passionate women. But, get the help you need. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you don't have the capability of doing it alone, but in a multitude of counselors, like I said, perspective is a valuable tool.
Well, if they're gonna,
It's powerful.
serve them 22-year-old orange peel tea.
Yeah, I do that with all my clients. In fact,
Sure, it probably opens up a lot of creativity.
tea does make everything
This
better.
this mushroom tea has really got me thinking.
I do not have mushroom tea. That's
didn't know
not
if-
me. Oh
I didn't
my
know
gosh.
if she wanted to give us tea or she wanted to drug us and take over the podcast.
The walls are melting. This is weird, guys.
I reject. But yeah, that's one of the things
You're still
that
doing
I'm
your
doing.
workshops.
Yeah, still doing the workshops. They'll start up again in 2000. I
Okay.
want to do a survey of the women in this particular area since I'm local. See what's that about. We also are considering what we want our impact to be. So I actually launched a tea project, which is going to begin with an anthology and end with a tea house and hopefully tiny home community to support women in various adverse situations. So that's underway as well.
So I want to ask you one question in closing.
Mhm.
As you look back, because one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs need, and you actually talked about the things that are really important to be a successful entrepreneur. One of the things that they need is perseverance, right?
Mhm.
But we need motivation sometimes to persevere through the
Right.
tough times.
Right. Or a
Is-
kick in the butt.
Yeah, sometimes it
I
does take
deliver
a swift
both.
kick.
Hell yeah.
I deliver both.
Yeah. If you look back over your life and your career up to this point, what's the one or two defining moments or proudest moments that really you think you'd share with people to give them that extra boost, to give them that incentive to keep going?
Business or personal?
It could be either.
Okay, so for, I guess just in general, yeah, there are three things.
We'll
one-
allow 3.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say 3, but
I guess we're allowing it.
You didn't have a choice there, Jake.
Okay. Thank you.
okay, so the first one is that, like I said, we have 4 kids. They're ages 16 to 30. And one of, I guess, my greatest accomplishments was that I was able to homeschool all 4 of them. They're all graduated now. But it was through homeschooling that they learned that it's okay to pursue what they wanted. We got to incorporate not only the standard lesson, but they got to dive into who they are, who they wanted to be. And, I'm grateful for that. So they never had anyone telling them, you have to color in the lines, but they got to tell somebody, you make the lines, you set the parameters, and then you go explore in it. Okay. The second thing I already mentioned, which is the impact of that 73-year-old lady that attended my workshop, seeing that it was more, that they got it, that the attendees got it, that it was more than, and I think this is true with so many things we do. It's not only about what you do, but it's about what you're getting from it and where it's going to send you after that. So the information that you take in, because we're in info overload, we're in data overload, pick and choose who you're going to listen to. But don't get caught up in all of this like self-help or info that's, a plethora, too much that's out there. Pick and choose, but apply, execute. You must execute, because attending a class, webinar, workshop, whatever you have you buying, the next books, they're not going to do anything for you unless you use them. And then the last thing, which was keeping our family together. When everyone wanted to tear us apart, is in spite of the trials that you experience in life, as well as the trials that you experience in business, tomorrow is going to come. I don't care what you have to do, whether tomorrow is 24 hours, whether it's 1 week from now, 1 year from now, 1 decade from now. When tomorrow comes, your sole responsibility is to show up to greet it. So don't cop out. Tomorrow's coming. Your job is to be there.
That's awesome. I'm motivated. Yeah, I mean that's amazing, and I think that your story is amazing, and I really am glad you came on the show today, because if this hasn't given you perspective on your life, like when people say "woe is me" or I hit a challenge.
Right.
Like, listen to this woman's story. It's amazing. So, Khrys, I want to give people some information on where to find you. First of all, you do counsel and guide women.
Mm-hmm.
You put on these workshops, which you've talked about. So where can people find out more about that?
You can visit one of two websites. The first one is my name, which is spelled kind of funky. It's Khrys Vaughan. And I'm sure that you will go ahead and paste the link on.
I'm going to put a link out there.
I'm not even going to spell it.
Because it's Khrys, which my spell check tries to fix every time, and it pisses me off. Every time I email you, my computer like freaks out and says, "You spelled it wrong, jackass."
Just
I got to delete it.
Add me to dictionary. There you go.
That's exactly what I had to do. Otherwise, your emails took like 5 hours to write. It was ridiculous.
Oh gosh! And the second website, if you're a woman who writes, in particular, like I said, if you're
or a woman who wants to write,
or want to, you know, because that's another area. Give yourself a chance in. You may have a book in you, and you've had an idea. You know, let's explore that together.
There's a writer in all of us, except Darren.
And
the book I'm writing is called A Coloring Book.
they do that for adults now. But anyway, the website is strongwomenwrite.net. You can also go to writestrongwomen.com. So,
and we'll link to all that on our socials.
Thank you.
So you got to follow us on our socials. And and your book is The Red Umbrella Society, available at Barnes & Noble. So you can go online and buy it, or you can buy the ebook version.
Yeah.
And
you only need the Nook app, not the reader. I've had people ask me about that because they see, it's Barnes & Noble, I don't have a Nook. You don't need it. You can read it in the Nook app, which is totally
use an iPad.
Free. Yeah, you can actually.
Buy the book, and I'm going to get Khrys to autograph it, if she will, when I buy it.
Charge him money, please.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to.
He's good for it. Just make him pay.
I'd be happy to.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. This has been really fascinating.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed being here.
Yeah, I'm just so jazzed up about your story. It's really motivating, and we want to remind you guys, if you would like us to tackle your hard questions on the show, we'd love to do so. Just write us at podcast@beer.business, or you can direct message us in any of our socials. We released our first standalone episode of Questionable Answers yesterday, and I couldn't believe we actually had a lot of people listen right out of the gates. I was really surprised. So this is a segment that has come back, based on you, our listeners, and you guys are awesome, and you've requested this. So we want your questions, so send them in. If they suck, you'll hear back from Mr. Winnie. Just kidding.
No.
I've been practicing where they have to go to after I screwed it up so many times yesterday. And where do they go? Beer. He goes, podcast@beer.business.
Darren's not good with words, so we got to help him out a little bit.
But he's so sweet.
I know, he's such a nice guy. We overlook it. And we also want to remind you to follow us on our socials. We actually put a poll out on Facebook yesterday.
Thank you all.
Very interesting, yeah. So we put a poll out. Is it acceptable to have a beer at a business lunch? And you guys, relax. The results are in. 80% of people said
Heck
yes. Yes.
Wow.
And 20% are communists. And
But you know what?
I'm kidding.
The amount of people who responded to that was incredible. That's awesome. You guys.
Just before we started the show, it was like 700 people had responded to the poll. So that's really awesome. And we are on Instagram. We're on the twits.
The gram. The gram and the twit, or whatever the hell the kids are saying. I don't even know.
The
and the tube.
Sound good.
Yeah.
And if you want to be on the show, there's an easy way to do it. We actually have a section on the website now.
Bring cash. Or tea, evidently.
Tea works too. Or you can just come drink beer with us, whatever. No, if you're interested in being on the show, or you know somebody that you think would be really good on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just go to beer.business. There's a new section on the website called Be on the Show. Just click it. There's a really simple form. It's so simple, Mr. Winnie could fill it out. I mean, it's...
Yeah, just hit us up.
Just let us know. And, we've got a lot of people lined up for interviews over the next couple of months that are going to be really fascinating. We've got some really good content coming your way. And let us know if you know anybody you think would be good on the show.
So now we're scooting over to the next thing. We're going to talk a little bit about our sponsor for beer,
Our official beer.
Brewery.
Yes.
Wow.
The official beer of beer and business. So the events this week at Jailhouse, Thursday on the 19th.
That's actually next week, Darren, but please continue.
Sorry. Well, I'm sure this weekend they're going to have football and beer.
Yes.
Which will be great. And but then next Thursday on the 19th, stand-up comedy. 11 comedians are going to be on stage upstairs in
The Watchtower, yeah.
The Watchtower from 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Thursday the 19th. And then on Saturday the 21st, they are having an event. It's called Autism Awareness. So they're going to have live music and auction.
Yeah,
and
that's
an
really
auction
cool.
going
That's a great event. Awesome cause. This is something that's really near and dear to me. I got a couple nephews with, full-blown autism. I've got autism in my family, my oldest son. And it's a really good event, live music. And the kind of the MC of the show is a kid with autism, and it's a really cool deal.
Cool.
So you should go out. It's a great cause and the best beer in Atlanta. I mean,
Pretty much, yeah.
so don't be lame. Just go.
And that starts at 5 p.m. on
Yeah.
Saturday the 21st. So
Very good.
there you go. I'm passing the baton. There you are.
Oh, and
Next.
folks, if you're a regular listener, you'd know that we're broadcasting from the official home of Beer and Business Podcast, Launch and Go Workspace.
Chris loves it. Yes.
Here in Peachtree City, Georgia.
The state-of-the-art studio with the blinking lights and all the technologies.
Yeah. And the camera the battery hasn't died.
That's a shocking revelation. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And-
was it last weekend we had the liquid lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic
good.
time. If you
Yeah.
guys didn't make it.
Yeah. You were there, Chris?
Yes, I was.
What'd
Yes,
you
I
think?
was. Oh, that was awesome. I enjoyed that.
Great. Well, we're going to be having more of those liquid lunch events. So we want you to stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be announcing next week when the next one's coming. We got really overwhelming positive feedback. So
Yeah, I mean, great turnout, excellent information, and just how people is like not a high pressure environment, not that stereotypical networking where people are trying to push cards and get cards and whatnot. Is actually great what you guys and what Launch and Go here is doing. I'm happy to be here again. Anytime you come into Launch and Go is a great place to be, but the programming that you do to support your co-working space, guys, you gotta come. You can't lose. It's just win, win, win all the way around. So come out.
Wow.
and it's amazing how beer makes networking low pressure,
Yeah.
engaging. It's awesome.
Darren,
So
that was such an endorsement, Darren.
yeah.
I might have to get a space here.
We might have a hard time getting out of the freaking doorway here. This is ridiculous.
I don't even have a business.
Who do I pay for that endorsement?
Yeah, well, you better stroke the check, dude, because that was a good one.
You'll get the bill.
I'm
Yeah,
feeling like
exactly.
I'll buy her some tea.
And you got some events coming up, Darren?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have some events coming up. Boy, did my
Check the
brain just go
website,
out. Woof.
launchandgoworkspace.com.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
she's hired. She's better than Darren.
There's my
She's
replacement.
better at Darren than promoting Darren's business.
She's a heck of a lot better looking than Darren, too. I'll tell you what.
Well, I agree with that one too.
So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We also have, we want to also tell you that if you have a topic you want us to talk about on the show, let us know. Again, you can email us at podcast@beer.business. Of course, we want you to subscribe and tell your friends because we're securely hosted by Overwatch Technology. If you have computers, you need these guys because if you've downloaded some, computer antivirus and you're like, oh, I'm safe, I'm good, you're not. Overwatch combines software and humans actually monitoring the logs to see if there's things that are out of the ordinary that could end up in ransomware or viruses. Very, very secure. Way better than some of that junk that's on the internet. You need them. If you do business on a computer, you need Overwatch Technology. And just go to www.overwatch.technology. And they've given us a tech tip this week. And you know what it is? Mr. Winnie, you know that Windows 7 computer that you have?
Windows 95? 7.
No, the Windows 7.
Yeah.
You do have a Windows 95 computer, but you have a Windows 7 computer too, right?
Okay.
You know that the support for that ends next year? And by next year, I mean a few months from now.
Wow.
So
Windows 7 is like brand new.
Well, in Microsoft time,
comment.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
But Microsoft time is a little different than normal time. Yeah, the support ends for Windows 7 in 2020. So if you've got Windows 7 machines in your business, you need to have a plan to upgrade them or replace them by the end of the year because when it hits 2020, you're no longer going to be supported by Microsoft. So,
You guys remember Windows ME?
oh my God, I do. Millennium
That
Edition.
lasted a
Wow.
long time.
Yeah.
ME Vista. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, ME was junk.
Win 98,
Ooh.
Windows 95, 98, Windows ME.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
I remember
crazy.
Fortran.
So upgrade your 15-year-old computer, I guess, is the
Right.
tech tip for today. Okay.
Yeah.
And we want to close out with some words of wisdom for you guys. You know, did you guys see the Dave Chappelle episode or the Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy thing that was released on Netflix?
The newest one?
Yeah.
No, I need to watch that. It's in my
No.
queue.
The one that got, yeah.
Yeah.
He
So there's
definitely colors outside the lines.
he does. So I'm bringing that up because
Not politically correct is that what you're...
yeah. So I wanted to share this. If you haven't heard, Dave Chappelle came out with a new stand-up comedy bit. It's on Netflix. I think it's called Sticks and Stones. Is that right? I think it's called Sticks and Stones. I could be wrong, but I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that's what it is.
Yes.
And in this stand-up bit, he goes through every possible group of people you can imagine and absolutely makes fun of them. You know, white people, black people, you know, gay people, straight people, pro-abortion, anti-abortion. I mean, like every stereotypical group you can imagine, he went after. And I watched the whole thing, start to finish. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really, really funny. But there are people that absolutely went ape and went after him. You know, there was, you know, people from
Because certain groups are off limits, right?
there were certain groups that took offense to his comedy and really went crazy. And the thing that I want to share with people is humor is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And humor shouldn't be off limits. If you can't find the humor in things, I think we've lost ourselves as a society.
Exactly.
It is so important that we don't take humor seriously and then we figure out, why does it make people laugh? Why is it so important? And, you know, sometimes it's the only gift you can give to somebody. I want to share a very personal story. My dad was on his deathbed this year. He died. And when he was really, really sick, I mean, at the last stages when he was, it was humiliating, you know, he has to be changed on the bed, you know, just the worst possible way to live. He would have people come see him that he hadn't seen in years, that traveled 1,000 miles to come see him, and it wouldn't bring a smile to his face. He'd see him come in and he was so weak and he was so desperate. He'd just look at them and there was just this dead look on his face. But I'd tell him jokes and he'd smile.
Yeah.
It's the only thing.
Laughter
Right.
is good for the soul.
It is.
Yes.
So it's sometimes it can be the only thing that can bring happiness to somebody. And as a society, we can't let humor be something that divides us. Humor is a gift.
Mhm.
It's a gift from God.
Mhm.
And you should always
So-
have the ability to laugh at yourself.
You should. And
to not
that's
take
actually
yourself
one of
that
the
seriously as well.
Right.
that's one of the impetuses of the show. You know, we cut up and we have laughs and we joke a lot, but we're a very serious podcast. We talk about very serious subjects. But we do this because it's a gift. It's a gift to entertain. It's a gift to make people smile. And you should be doing that all the time. You should try to make people laugh. You should embrace humor at all times. If we can't do that, I don't know that that's a world I want to live in.
I'll just keep working on self-deprecation. That works for
It's
everybody else.
really
so it's-
easy for people like Darren because there's so much material.
Wow.
Enough to feed a feast.
Well, look at Darren. We got to get him a taxi because there's no way he's getting home without one today.
Yeah.
Folks, we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks, Khrys, for coming.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.